I realized yesterday, more relationship genesis stuff, by the way. I realized yesterday that did not cover framing nearly as well as I could have, probably because I was as exhausted as I was. But I want to do that now. There's a couple other things just in general about framing, especially in the world of online dating. I often, pre-frame. Hey, we're gonna have a first meeting, and they go, oh, should I eat? First of all, yes, you should eat. Or usually, I just tell them I will have eaten, so that there's no expectations. I have spent upwards of $600 on first dates that went sideways suddenly at the end. So, and one of those I lost a pair of glasses on too, so it ended up being nearly $1,000 night, and it was full of expectations that just weren't stated until it was too late. So I like to set expectations up front very quickly. In terms of the agreements, how do you frame the agreements? You can simply say so one of the frames I like to give them is, hey, so we meet for coffee or for a glass of something, or we can go from there if it goes well. But we both have the freedom to leave at any point. No harm, no foul, like that. I also tell them if they don't look like their photographs, I will simply walk out. Because I've never had that I've only had that experience once. It was clear that all their photographs were about 30 years old. I actually started putting timestamps on mine, but anyway, so those are some general frames. But in terms of the agreements, hear the truth, tell the truth, don't hold anyone accountable to agreements they have made, and if you're upset, make a request. I just tell them the full truth about that. So in this world of ideas, global ideas and the global marketplace, I've actually met people from the same town who went to the same church, who grew up next door to each other, who still had different ideas about what relationships should look like. So I just like to sort of lay some ground rules so we know what to expect, and then we can relax and we can play. Now, once we know what the actual rules are, and if they seem confused by that, say, hey, have you ever had somebody say, well, you should have known blah blah blah, and you go, how would I have possibly known that? And say, yeah, I'll never do that to you, and in my own experience, preferences are radically different, and people seem to think that their view is the way of viewing everything. So some people think opening a door for a woman is the way a man should behave, and they get really frustrated when a guy doesn't do that. Some women think that that's somehow thinking the woman's weak and disempowering her in some way. So radically different ideas, and those I've had both experiences in the San Francisco Bay Area. So there's that. Then in terms of, well, what if it's not a fit, or what if they don't agree to it, or which I've never had anybody not agree to it. I've had somebody think it was a weird conversation, or I also simply use it as a filter for it. Like, if they can't have these kinds of conversations, then they're definitely not going to be the kind of experience I want in a relationship, because communication and being clear about what we're being held accountable to in terms of standards or expectations is very important to me. And we've all been, I think they call it ghosting now, but we've all had somebody drop off the radar, like, hey, where'd you go? It's like, well, you did this thing, and, or you didn't do this thing, and, well, I didn't know you like that. So the way I personally frame it, because it's disarming, is I go, just assume I'm stupid, and I actually, or I'm ignorant, and I actually have no idea what you want. But if you tell me what you want, I'll probably, provide it, or, want to do that for you. So just assume that I'm completely ignorant. Just tell me how you like to be treated, and so, just make requests. If they say, well, all guys should know this, or all women should know this, or I want a guy who just knows what I want. Really? Yeah? I'd like to increase my psychic skills too. How good are you at reading minds? And so it's just not a very adult, it's just not a very adult way to approach relationships. Yes, you can get a sense of it, and yes, we can talk about masculine and feminine communication, but the more clarity you have, the more you are going to get what you want. And the other thing is, well, what if it's not a fit? What do you say? Well, you say it's not a fit. And they're going to say, well, why isn't it a fit? Especially if they're really attracted to you. Or you say, because it's not a fit. Well, why isn't it a fit? Tell me. Because it's not a fit. You only want to say that. You don't want to get, well, it's because then they're going to assume that it's an objection for you to overcome, or for them to overcome rather, and they're going to keep coming at it. So you need to just be vague, and it's really none of their business, really, at that point. Like if they've done something so outside of what you desire, then it's just not a fit. Why is it a fit? Well, it's just not a fit. And if you, by the way, I've never had to say that more than 3 times before they go, okay, it's fine. It's really, the more you expose the reasons, the more they're going to overcome those. Now, sometimes I've had somebody just be completely off. I had somebody like, well, I know you like this kind of music. I'm like, oh, what kind of music? And they're like, oh, I mean, you mean like this? And I've got a whole collection of that. So sometimes it's just about getting to know each other better, but often it's not. And if you know it's not a fit right away, for any reason, then just telling them it's not a fit is the kindest thing to do. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, it's actually the kindest thing to do. It's sharper and shorter. Just like a recession, if we infuse stimulus into a recession, it softens the impact, but it makes it usually last longer. Basic economic theory, right? Applied to human interactions. So yes, if you tell them the truth, it might hurt. Their feelings might be hurt. And you've done them a kindness because they can either turn their attention elsewhere. I often say, by the way, yes and no are both fine answers, because people are so not used to, they're people used to holding people hostage to a yes. And if they say no, they get upset. Or, and I tell them, I say, look, if it's not a fit, just let me know. If you're not interested, just let me know you're not interested. And then I can turn my attention elsewhere. It's not a big deal. But at least I know. And then it frees up all that energy. And by the way, if they don't respond well to any of this, then it reveals plenty. And so it's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to learn more about how people view these things and how they react to them. So, all right, that's enough for that one. So that's the other ways I frame all those things and other small communication techniques. This cat is destroying this leather couch. In the most adorable way possible, huh? Yeah. All right. More relationship justice stuff. All right, now we're going to drill into each of the 3 agreements.